Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's live stream event, Innovate, from today's insight to tomorrow's action. This is part of the UE Systems series from Insight to Impact, an Ultrasound World live event series. My name is Tom Wilk, and I'm the chief editor on Plant Services Magazine, a longtime media supporter of Ultrasound World in UE Systems. And I'm here with Hari Viswanathan, Senior Director of Products at UE Systems, for a conversation on where reliability is going and how ultrasound is evolving to support future ways of working. In this talk today, sponsored by UE Systems and Ultrasound World, you'll hear about the ways that industry is applying ultrasound and other tech innovations to deliver real impact in a business environment that is as challenging as ever. You'll also have the opportunity to ask questions in real time, as well as share your opinions in several polls today. So first things first, Hari, it is great to see you for today's talk. How are you?
I'm good, Tom. It's nice to meet you. It's been a while. We've crossed paths a few times, so I'm finally glad to be on a call with you.
No, it's same here, and especially talking about such a hot topic these days. I know we're going to talk about multiple kinds of technologies that are changing reliability with a special focus on AI. In fact, just this week, Hari Plant Services published a series of podcasts, 3 or 4 in a row, all touching on the ways that AI is changing the business and tech world. It's amazing.
That's awesome. It's man, it's changing so fast. It's almost like week to week at this point. Like the AI is just you have new models coming out every week, and now we are hitting a point where the models are training themselves. I think it's just wild. Like I was just reading up on this essay the other day where they were talking about the 2 latest models that came out, Codex 5.3 and Claude, where the new models were actually had a good chunk of the code written by previous models. So it's kind of crazy how fast this is exponentially growing. And I'm excited to talk about what this means for reliability and how it's just going to change the game all over again.
Well, the first thing I want to do then is let's take the temperature of the people who are with us in the live stream today and put up our first poll, which is going to focus on the workflow changes that they're experiencing today. So for those of you in the live stream, if you go ahead and take a look at this poll, it's a simple, direct question. How is your reliability workflow evolving today? There's 4 options here. Some of you could probably pick 2, 3, or maybe all 4, but go ahead and pick the one that is the most relevant to what you're experiencing on the job today. I know Hari and I are going to talk more in detail about some of the customer case studies that he's come across these days. But Hari, if you had to give a high-level sense of what you're seeing in the field while our attendees are responding to the poll, what would you say are some of the 1 or 2 big changes in how workflows are changing?
Yeah, so let's just kind of pull this back a little bit, right? Like take AI out of the game, take AI and all of the buzzwords being thrown around. When I talk to customers, one of the things that they're always asking for is I just want fewer surprises. I don't wake up asking for AI. I'm not waking up asking for this model or that model. I'm waking up asking, why did this fail? Why did that fail? How do I prevent the next one from happening? And it's less about like, oh, I want a fancy dashboard. Dashboards are, anyone could make a dashboard. Now it's all about like, how do you get high confidence insight? How do you get predictive accuracy? And how are you reducing the time from alert to action? And this has been a theme that's been going on for a few years, but it's starting to accelerate more and more. The other thing we've been noticing is that, a lot of the IoT-driven continuous monitoring, condition monitoring space, it used to be fairly new a few years ago, but now customers, they know what's out there. They've spoken to a lot of different vendors. They know exactly what they want, and they're becoming a lot more demanding and a lot more selective in what they're picking and having very clear vision of what they want. And that's just what I'm seeing as well. So a few examples I've looked at was a big bottling customer who makes soda. One of the things they were telling me is that, look, we've used ultrasound, we've used the handhelds for a long time. What we want to move towards is, can we start implementing some level of auto lubrication on these bearings that that we historically have just gone around with a rod and just kind of manually grease them. We don't want our people doing that anymore, because do I really want to be paying somebody to waste half their life walking from point to point just pumping in grease when I could have them doing higher value work? Do I really want that person up on a scaffolding in 20-degree weather trying to grease a bearing? I don't want that anymore, because that's a liability and it's not great for them. It's not great for me. How do I automate that? How do I move my machines from just a monitoring solution to more, can I move them towards more autonomous self-healing where they just lubricate themselves? Those are some of the demands I'm seeing. The other area I'm seeing as well is just moving higher up the insight and complexity level. So slow speed bearings is definitely a big one that we're seeing as well. Mostly leaving aside the concept of a slow speed bearing, you're looking at like these massive complex machines,
Mm.
think chemical reactors, stuff like that, that are like slowly rotating. And the customer is like, look, it's not really a bearing issue, but I'm seeing the cages, the inner cages break down, because I have my compound in there, my chemical mix that's just slowly getting mixed over time, but I keep seeing all these inner mixing cages just break apart, just break down. Can you guys look at ways to detect that using ultrasound, or using other forms of technology? And that's very specialized types of monitoring, types of project based analysis that we're looking at. Folks have like like very popular amusement parks here or there, which kind of go up and down. And like, can you guys help us with this very challenging task of trying to figure out what is going on with these very complex machines that operate in non-standard fashion and things like that? So I think it's like going in both directions right now, which
Mhm.
is the middle ground used to be standard rotating assets,
Mhm.
right? And now it's going towards like highly specialized assets in one direction. And then you have balance of plant that you want to very not cheaply but very cost effectively monitor,
Mhm.
either in a way to self heal, self lubricate, but also like make it easy for them to quickly figure out, is a bad bearing or something as such. So
Okay. Those are two very interesting directions that workflows are going, and we can take them one at a time. For non-standard assets, I'm curious: are there asset libraries being developed for more and more non-standard assets to help people understand their behavior better, like there are for, say, standard models of motors and the rotating equipment? Or is this really a case where people are taking these best practices and applying them in individual cases because the environment is so different in each of these non-standard assets?
I would say the operating context, the environment changes rapidly, right? It's
Mm.
no two solutions are going to be the same.
Hmm.
I think also like people always thought, the standard way to monitor these things is vibration. Vibration is great, but it's almost like it's almost always catching things in the late stage, and not enough research is going into ultrasound, or at least like people are not looking at ultrasound as a way to do much earlier detection. And that's why we're kind of seeing a lot of like interesting asks for our data science team of like, hey,
Hmm.
can you guys look at implementing ultrasound to figure out if you could detect failures in these machines a lot earlier than if you could see it with vibration and such. And almost always these are like very unique, customized data science research projects for us, which are great. We learn so much from these projects, but also gives us an opportunity to look at developing custom solutions for them that work for those customers. And some of the things I'll talk about, I know we some of the areas we can start teasing out is how are we looking at using AI agents and
Hmm.
additional leverage tools like that to rapidly build out these solutions for customers in a way that actually gives them a lot of power. So
Okay. Well, and you also touched on the other side of the equation, which was automating certain elements of the workflow and taking the human being out of the equation. Um, I've seen this happen, especially with electrical systems maintenance, where the more you could automate that kind of condition monitoring, the less you had people get into the panels and risk any kind of serious injury.
hmm
One of my favorite examples was someone using ultrasound as a complementary technology to infrared imaging.
Mhm.
in order to help drive the risk portfolio down for the company, because one
Mhm.
condition monitoring technology was considered strong, two together was considered stronger.
Yeah.
Uh, and, uh, and so, yeah, could you comment a little bit more about the ways that either the skills gap is driving this drive toward this need for automation, or safety, or all of the above? What do you see as a driver here?
I think it's just the need to get it's two things, right? One is people are realizing that just one way of monitoring an asset is not going to give you coverage across all types of fault conditions, fault modalities.
Hmm.
It's not going to help you detect issues sooner than later. Ultrasound is great for like very early stage detection because it's looking at the wearing down of the lubrication film. There's a little pops as that thing starts, as the film starts to break down. Those things don't manifest in a vibration until you actually start seeing damage appear in the machine, and then that's when the vibration starts to pick it up. So when customers are looking at these, they're thinking in terms of like, okay, I can wait for this thing to break down and then go fix it, and I can use vibration for that. Or I can also look at changing the way I do my lubrication programs and find ways to do that ahead of time and use that to prevent downtime. The problem with and I think there's a lot of like debate on this issue, because when you look at vibration based solutions, it's always, we caught something,
Hmm.
here's the downtime, we prevent it, hurrah, it's a hero story, right? It's great, such a great hero story. But then if you go back and you look at, oh, if I actually had lubricated this bearing better, I wouldn't have had that, the hero story down the line where it actually breaks down. So it's
Hmm.
actually interesting in a way that lubrication is boring, but it actually prevents 80% of faults that will eventually manifest in a vibration system catching it. And I think it's also like how most companies have presented the vibration solutions of like, we're going to come there, prevent downtime before it happens, all of those things. But
Hmm.
then also like customers also realizing that if I focus on lubrication and better lubrication practices and better automatic lubrication practices, that might actually prevent a lot of the downstream impacting that I would have seen. So I think it's an interesting inflection point we're seeing now where the solution is starting to mature, and people are starting to see that as a thing.
Yeah, this reminds me of an example I heard a couple months ago of a very large retailer who was engaged in an oil analysis program, and thousands and thousands of samples a month going through the program.
Hmm.
Very little coming back because the reliability team had engineered their proactive maintenance program to minimize flaws and failures, like you're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, at one point, the person in charge of the program suspended the oil analysis program, and when the lab inquired why, the retailer said, "Well, the machines are operating fine, so this is simply a waste of money." Um,
Yeah.
and like you said, it's that there's a certain hero mentality playing into that kind of thinking and decision making, where just because you don't have a catastrophe doesn't mean the program's not effective or that the money's not well spent.
Yeah, it's like you have a seatbelt and you wear it, but then you're like, well, I haven't been in an accident, but so I still wear a seatbelt. So I think one of the big trends I'm seeing is, integrating multiple modalities into a platform, right? Like you've seen this with companies like Uptime AI and a few others who are like, talking about like ignore the sensors, we'll pull everything in, have a nice
Mhm.
big dashboard. I think that's feeding into the desire for customers to see, can we do multiple modalities, have all of the pieces, all of the sensors flowing into a platform, and have some way to like figure out what the heck is going on and be able to like stay ahead of that. I think that's a big driver for like in a lot of data integration projects that we're seeing.
Okay. Well, let's shift a little bit more into the tech part of the conversation, and I'm going to ask our behind the scenes moderator here to put the second poll up. It's a technology poll. We'll take the temperature of our attendees on this question. For those of you who are listening in today, which emerging technology will have the biggest impact on reliability in the next 3 to 5 years? At the top is advanced sensing technologies. Second choice is AI/agentic AI. The third is automated analytics and reporting. And the fourth one is lower cost, more accessible software. And again, there could easily be a fifth option here, all of the above. Um, But for those of you who are working on these challenges right now, working through them, go ahead and check the box, and we can get a sense of who on this live stream presentation today is facing what kind of challenges. And interestingly, Hari, we've got some who are picking sensing and lower cost software, but the majority right in the middle there with either AI, agentic AI, and automated analytics and reporting is emerging at the moment as the majority choice on what people are think will have the biggest impact on reliability. This is
Mhm.
fascinating.
We should do this poll in about 2 months and see if it gets flipped between the agent AI and the automated reportings. I'll tell a story here. And the story is just my own world of software development and how that's changing, right? Because what's changing in tech today is going to come for everything else.
Mhm,
Reality is when I talk to peers in the industry who are also in the same like space and working on their own products,
mhm,
the thing that they're saying again and again is that the cost of software development is collapsing.
mm,
What does that mean, right? Um, Software used to be expensive because you have to build a whole team to build and deliver production grade software. You have to hire engineers, product managers, DevOps, QA people, QC people, all of that, right? Whole fleet, right? So the cost to develop software became very expensive. That's why we have
mhm,
SaaS and all of those things, right? But now the you have these new agents, these coding agents, which are coming in with extremely intuitive ways to write and develop code, not just code, but like architect systems end to end, being able to build a production grade app in a few hours, building dashboards out of thin air, things like that. So the reality is that the because the cost of software is starting to collapse, that means it is becoming easier and easier for us to say yes to a customer because you now have the ability to ask the customer exactly what you need, how you're going to do it, and then build it for them in a way that works just for them, or find some commonalities. But the cost to iterate on that software for the customer is now very, very cheap and very, very easy. Where is that going to push towards? Um, if software engineers are now getting agents to help them do the work of 10 developers, where one senior developer can do the work of 10 developers, you're going to see the exact same story play out in reliability, where you would have a very senior, very experienced reliability engineer who typically would have managed 5 or 10, junior engineers under them. Now you're going to be in a world where that person can do the work of that entire team under them because now they
mhm,
have these agents that are helping them quickly figure out what's going on with the machine, diagnose it. You could upload your nameplate, you could upload your manual, and then it'll take a look at the sensor data and tell you exactly what's going on and fix it.
mhm,
Right? So then what does that mean? That means that you are now moving into a world where automated reporting analytics is going to be a function of that, right? You don't have to think about, oh, I need a big dashboard, because you can just ask the agent, prepare a report for me, prepare a dashboard for me
mhm,
of everything I need, and it'll do it. Like, you can make apps today that can do that for you. As long as you have your data pipelines, as long as you own the signal, you should be able to do all of those things very cheaply, or fairly quickly right now.
mhm.
So, which is why I was laughing, because when I saw everyone is saying automated analytics and reporting is 53 and the other one is 44, 2 months time it's going to be flipped, because now everyone is like, I don't need the reporting because I'm just going to tell the agent to do that for me, and
Uh,
I don't have to worry about it. So
it's fascinating, and I don't want to dwell on the potential generational gap here, but there's some more senior folks who might not be aware that agents have matured enough where you
Mhm.
can ask them to create very specific reports versus all the folks coming out of university and high school education who expect this, entering the workforce, who are going to simply demand this. So it's that is striking that agents have matured to that point. A story I heard last year at the Marcon conference at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. Uh, Someone had developed a app that sat on your phone, which helped guide people in the field delivering better data.
Mhm.
on asset condition.
Mhm.
Um, and they developed the prompt to not browbeat or waterboard the user into delivering exact data precisely consistently, but it was a chat flow
Mhm.
which extracted all the key information that the reliability team knew they needed to make the
Yeah.
best decisions. And frankly, the one of the words they used was it was gentle. It was not something which intrusively sat in your phone watching everything you did. It was something which you, as a user, pulled up to help gather the better data.
Yeah.
So, uh, thoughts on what you're seeing when it comes to these agents coming down? Are they are the best agents operating in this way, where they're helpful reminders and gentle persuaders, or is it a little bit different than that?
I think the reality is it's going to come down to what works best for each individual user, right?
Hmm.
For me, for example, in my day to day, I have an agent that helps write my code for me. That I have an
Hmm.
agent that checks that agent's code and tells me the agent is doing an idiot's job and needs to do better. I yell at my agent, say you're being dumb and you need to like figure this out quickly because I'm not happy. So it's like it's it's getting to the point where it used to be that in order to write software, you need to learn how to write assembly or C or C++ or all of these
Right.
different languages, right? Now, the only language you need is human language, natural. Can you describe what you need with vision of what exactly you need and how it's going to be done, and then describe it to the agent, and then sense check what the agent is saying and correct them if needed, which in 99% of cases is what managers do.
Hmm.
So all the senior folks in reliability, you're going to be doing exactly the same thing you're doing today. Only you're talking to an agent rather than someone junior. It's the same. It's at that point now where it's mature enough to do that. So
I'm I'm curious, what are some of the, agentic AIs that you've seen out there which have been making a difference? I don't know if you either specific, verticals like an agent developed for metals and mining, or if it's, an agent simply developed for certain asset classes.
yeah,
What have you seen that caught your attention, like, "Wow, they can do that now?"
yeah. So I mean, it just interestingly, right? Some of the things that I've seen work very in a very cool way is, say I'm doing uh, graphical analysis, right? Like you look at time waveforms, you look at FFTs and all of those. I'm not a vibration analyst. I'm not an ultrasound analyst, but I can have a sidekick with me that's kind of looking over what's on my screen, and then I give it a bit of context. Say, hey, this is a center hung pump of some sort. Right?
Mhm.
Here's a picture of the nameplate. Here's a manual. Can you help me figure out what's going on here? And then it can kind of guide me through. Okay, click on the harmonics. Load up this sampling frequency, look at this or that, kind of guide you through the workflow and tell you, okay, based on everything you're telling me, I think it's structural mechanical looseness or something like that, right? But it's kind of an interesting, like, it's conversational
Mhm.
in a helpful way, but extremely intelligent because you can feed it with all of the context from everything you've done, but also all of the context of everything that's done in your organization, right? You might have manuals lying around, you might have like playbooks lying around. Put all of that into your store, and then the agent reads that and then understands what you need, and you can like do a lot of things from there. So some of the really cool ways. I mean, obviously, you have these agent orchestration things that do things like, here, I notice a fault. I can like set up a work order and push it into here with a bunch of different tasks that you need to do, things like that, which is great. But I found that the co-pilot chat kind of sidekick kind of relationship has been
Mhm.
something that's stuck the most with people. Like they like having this little buddy that helps them think through problems together. So
Wow. You were reminding me of last summer. I took my 3 kids who are 14 and twins that are 12.
hmm
I took them to go see 2001: A Space Odyssey to see what they would think and to introduce them to art film, art cinema, but also future-looking cinema.
yeah,
And to be fair, this movie is 60 years old, and the predictions were supposed to be made for
beautiful.
2001.
hmm
I was surprised at how much my kids could now take for granted as part of their daily lives in 2025, 2026 that were in that movie. They got a lot of the predictions right. AI agents being orchestrated by a central hub,
hmm
run by run by 2 humans,
Hmm.
for the least interesting people in the movie. They're simply making a couple of decisions. It's how the computer that's doing all the hard behind the scenes work. They also were they sort of glossed over the fact that the astronauts are watching TV on their personal iPads. They're like, yeah, we have those. What's the big deal?
I think that's a great movie to describe like how agents the agent is at its context, it's a large language model. It's not going to do things on its own. It
Hmm.
needs someone to direct it. It needs someone to drive it, right? It needs vision. It needs someone who can like see the big picture and put the pieces together. And that is still fundamentally a human. That's human nature. That's what we do. We are organizers. We are pattern
Yeah.
recognizers. We form communities. We build things together, right?
Hmm.
It's just making it easier for us to do that. Um,
Yeah.
it's making us do things that a single person can do today what would have taken a team of 10 people to do,
Wow.
which I think is where it's changing so rapidly. And
Well, let me ask you a sensing technology question. I'll pivot based on the movie when how the computer
mm,
reports a false positive fault in the main communications array. Clearly, the computer is misrepresenting the sensing technologies available. Um, what kind of sensing technology innovations right now are you also seeing this that are being implemented? Again, agnostic of AI and agent technologies. What are the sensing innovations that are changing the reliability space right now?
yeah, so I would say that uh, 80% of solutions out there today use some form of vibration. I think
Hmm.
that's been the like throw a stone, you'll hit a vibration monitoring condition-based solution, right?
Hmm.
Where it's getting really interesting is obviously ultrasound. That's our bread and butter. It's kind of becoming the next choice for a lot of people because they're so adjacent. But ultrasound in itself is like picking up the higher frequencies and the more subtle variances. Other areas I'm seeing is like infrared, thermal, thermography, being able to like stitch. Like I mean, you probably have seen the work that Spot is doing with
Hmm.
Boston Dynamics, which is like you put it on a dog and you've got those cameras that take. But what's interesting about that was they take the picture at the exact same time every day on a route. So then once you start like overlaying things together, you can kind of see a pattern in how the the heat index, the infrared signature changes over time.
Hmm.
I think that's really cool
Yeah.
because now you can like start looking at ways in which you can like trend that and see how it's changing. You can do the same thing with acoustic imaging as well, which we have. We can like take the same image at the same time and like you can start to trend that. I'm seeing a lot of that right now. I'm not seeing as much in motor current signature analysis. I think that's been another area that I've heard a lot about.
Hmm.
Haven't seen so much in that, but I feel like thermal, infrared, ultrasound. That's like kind of the next few technologies that are coming. Um,
Isn't it fascinating that the compute power, which is powering the AI revolution, is also empowering visual sensors like the ones you're talking about too? Finally, we have enough power to actually stitch these images together over time and do real analysis of
Amazing.
what's happening. Yeah.
It's just amazing. And like I also don't want to forget, right? Like handhelds, like people on routes with handheld
Mm.
devices, is still like the bulk of the work that's being done on these
Yeah.
machines, right? In terms of monitoring, and I think that's just going to get even more interesting because now that you're taking out a bulk of the condition monitoring, like you have the sensors doing on that, but you're freeing up people to do more deeper diagnosis on machines using
Hmm.
handhelds. And that's kind of where I think a lot of the innovation that we're working on is around like how do you manage routes better, how do you manage data collection and routes more effectively, but also
Hmm.
put it in a way that is in the same view and platform as a continuous monitoring solution, but have the same level of diagnostic depth that you could have with the continuous monitoring. And I think that's going to be fascinating because now, for a lot of sites where maybe the cost to put a sensor in is just too much because IoT
Hmm.
is IoT is still it'll always have like startup cost, power drops, all of those things, but
Yeah.
still giving a human a really high powered, high technology sensing tool like the ultra probes is still going to be a great way to get that deeper diagnosis. Just managing those routes better, managing the people workflows better is going to be like the next layer of innovation. I'm really curious to see how that's going to play out.
Okay. Well, before we shift into discussion more of the human element, I'm going to invite the pollster in the background to put the third poll up for our attendees today. We're going to shifting our conversation over into the reliability profession itself. As AI tools advance, what will matter most for reliability professionals? And for those of you, this is a chance to pick your option here: either systems design and long-term vision, deep field experience, data fluency, and orchestration and guiding AI tools themselves. And while people are taking a look at these options, I'll remind everyone too, uh, attending today at the live event, if you do have questions for Hari, we'll have a little time at the end of our conversation for questions from attendees. And you can put those questions in the chat section, which should be located to the right side of your screen. You can type them right in there, and our behind the scenes moderator will help us get the questions over to Hari. So we're seeing some responses come in, Hari, and the fourth option seems to be the one that's attracting the most attention here, with the others systems design in second, and the others sort of evenly split.
Called it.
It
Called it.
is fascinating. Yeah, so Hari, let's talk about that. This is more about the way that ultrasound is supporting current and emerging practices and how technology is changing reliability. Yeah, your thoughts on what we just saw in the poll.
I think it's fascinating because again, going back to this concept, right? Like agents can't design; they don't have vision. They are tools that you have, and they're a force multiplier, right? And force multiplier means if you start with zero, you end up with zero. You need to start with something, and that is experience and vision and having. How do I make these things work together in a way that serves my organization's goals or
Yeah.
my team's goals? So that means that uh, it's a very critical point to understand, right? Like AI can optimize, but it cannot define what matters. The
Mhm.
person has to make the call on what is really important to your reliability program. And that means it's like you need to think about asset strategy. You need to think about failure mode prioritization. What are your safety trade offs? What's your business risk? Those are all human questions that you need to answer and you need to define that to the agent. And then it can figure out a plan to optimize from that. And I think that's where the concept of vision is really important, and how you orchestrate all these different tools and how they work together. The best only thing we can do is give you the tools. I think we
Mhm.
still need to the folks on this call. You still need to figure out how that's going to play out in how they interact with each other and really serve your team there. Um, the other thing I'm seeing as well is that the value of pure experience is declining. So, what that means is just because you have 20 years of experience in the industry, that is not a that value of that is being repriced as we speak.
Mhm.
Because when you look at some of the newer models that are coming out now, they have they have all of the experience of human wisdom embedded into them, right? And that means the cost of the edge that you used to have in terms of intelligence is rapidly shrinking. I'll let that sit for a second. The AI models that are coming out today is rapidly shrinking the edge of the edge of human intelligence you have in staying ahead. What that
Mhm.
means is that the value of tool fluency and system design, that is what is going up. So it's not just
Mhm.
about like I have 20 years of experience. It's more about how do I leverage that experience to design a system and architect a system that is promoting reliability in my organization. And that's kind of how you need to start thinking about it. It's not and that means that the best reliability professionals will orchestrate agents. They'll know what to automate, they know what not to trust, and they will design that system themselves because now
Mhm.
they have the tools to do it and they know how to do it. They're just going to do it. So you're not just doing design thinking, you're doing design doing. which is a completely different way to think about this, right? You're not going to hire a whole bunch of solution architects or human developers. You're just going to do it yourself. So
That is fascinating. It's a sea change in the way people do think about reliability. And thanks for giving everyone a chance to digest what the implications of what you're saying are here. I'm struck by the possibilities. Number one, for people to advance themselves, no matter how much experience you've got in the field. Number, I did have a question for you on this. So, the traditional route to build initial expertise is either a university degree or an apprenticeship program. Are there any programs out there right now which teach people how to orchestrate the right AI agents, or is this sort of still in do-it-yourself territory?
it is very egalitarian.
Hmm.
You can literally go on any chat GPT, Claude, try out the free programs, $20 a month subscription. You don't even need to know where to start. You can ask the agent to tell you how to start,
Hmm.
and then it'll kind
Yeah.
of walk you through. Like a lot of this is like you can really go to school for this. You can leverage what you already know, and then use the agent to tell you what you need to know to make it work.
Okay.
um, and that's kind of how, I mean, that's how I've been like working on this, right? Like this thing is so new that all I
Hmm.
do is just, okay, that's a new model, come on, let me go play with it and see what it can build for me, and then kind of go from
Okay.
there. um, I think that's kind of how it's going to work. Like it's just computers back in the 90s, right? People just started buying them and just started writing code and
Yeah.
figuring things out and messing around. We're back to where we were then, but now
Hmm.
everybody can do it if you have curiosity and
Hmm.
you have a couple of weeknights to sit down and mess with it. Great.
Hmm.
That's kind of how you want to go. So
You mentioned before that as long as you have the sensors plus the data pipelines, you can start orchestrating agents to take advantage of those assets to monitor your critical assets.
yeah.
Uh, are- is part of what you're suggesting that these reliability professionals would need to know, perhaps more than they do now, sensor technologies that are available and data pipelines, or should they work with IT departments if those are available for one or
Hmm.
more of those
Hmm.
sort of bodies of knowledge?
Yeah. So the I'll kind of like boil this down very simply, right?
Yeah,
Um, because software is so easy to develop,
yeah.
you can pretty much just, if it doesn't work, throw it away, start a new one.
Mm,
As long as your data is still good and your signal quality is good, you can build whatever you want on top of it,
mhm,
right? You can orchestrate agents, you can build fancy dashboards, all of that, because it's still a visualization of the data that you already have. So the thing that you need to invest in is signal quality, which is, do I have the right sensors? Are they placed properly? Are they baseline
mhm,
well? Do they have the data coming in? Do I have my IoT stack set up properly? Do I have like a good solid foundation on which I want to build on? Right. So that never goes away. And that's still where a lot of the hard engineering work is still happening, right? How do I orchestrate and build a proper signal capture, IoT, sending the data from the sensor to the gateway to the cloud or to my on-prem solution? Those are still challenges that people still need to resolve today. An AI agent is not going to, it's not going to take that away. And
okay,
an AI agent actually relies on that being stable, because AI is just going to amplify noise. If you have a noisy system, it's making a bunch of errors, it's just going to amplify that. You're not going to get much further from that. And that's kind of how it's going to go. You still need to invest in that foundation. So that's why I still work with companies that excel in that work. So
okay. Well, we're getting close to time, so just a couple last orders of business here. To start wrapping it up, what 2 or 3 things would you say people can do right now to start driving, results in a moment when reliability is changing thanks to modern technology?
I would say the last thing I want to leave people with is, reliability isn't becoming less human. In fact, it's becoming more strategic.
Mhm,
The tools are getting a lot smarter. So what's going to help you get there faster is being more intentional about what you want. being more intentional about what you need, and then driving towards an outcome.
Hmm.
And the agents are just there to help you get that. So
Okay. Well, and I know we're going to have a lot of conversations like this at Ultrasound World coming up in May. Um, I want to thank you and UE Systems and Ultrasound World for sponsoring today's conversation. And for those of you who are thinking about attending the event, you can take a look at the slide that's just appeared on the screen there. There's a QR code to take you right to the website and for registration information. It's a 3-day event held in Clearwater, Florida. This year it's May 12, 13, and 14. And you've got 3 days worth of conversations and learning sessions and networking in frankly a beautiful location, Clearwater Beach, Florida. So I've been able to attend for 10 plus years now, and I can't imagine a more relaxing setting to foster information sharing among like-minded professionals. It's a really fascinating event. Harry, will you be down there this year?
I will definitely be there. You will find me on the stage on day 2 where we talk about our roadmap. And again, I want to have conversations, guys. Come over there, find me. We'll talk about the stuff we're building. It's exciting. We have a lot of things cooking, and can't wait to show it to you.
Yeah, and I tell you, I sort of collect so many case studies that I'm sometimes unable to write about only because the customers are still in the middle of the experience and they don't want to report results out yet. But for those who do want to explore the future of AI orchestrations, AI agents orchestrations, this is the kind of place to go to get that information to find out what people in your field are doing. Frankly, in confidence, because everybody wants. I think the attitude is a rising tide raises all boats, right? This is
Yep.
the perfect example to perfect place to talk about those kind of issues.
Amazing.
So, well, once again, thank you, Hari, for the conversation, and thanks to UE Systems and Ultrasound World for making today's conversation possible. There are 2 more in this series, one in March and one in April. So I look forward to talking with you next time, everybody. Yeah, March 18th is Engage. What happens when leaders connect? And April 8th is Master, from grease schedules to intelligent reliability. So thank you for attending. Hari, thanks for the talk today.
Thank
And
you. Thank you.
we'll see everybody in March. Take care,
Yeah.
everyone.
See ya.